Hello everyone, this is Professor DePaulo. Welcome you back to Site 265 Fully Online. And this week we're going to be talking about how to write the title page, the abstract, and the reference section. And so if you've written the first four sections, the first three sections, the introduction, obviously, the method, and the discussion, I've written the results for you. And now we're going to put it all together and wrap it all up and write the final pieces of the manuscript, the title, the abstract, and the references. So I've given you a walkthrough on Blackboard under assignments, writing the title, abstract, and references. So I'm going to go through this. And so the title page is pretty basic. For the title page, we're going to have at the very top, the running head. And the words running head are going to appear at the very top page of the page in the top margin, flush left, left justified. The words running head as they appear right here. I will type out a title page for you here. So we're going to click into the header right here, and we're going to put running head in regular font, just like that. Now, following the colon after running head, you're going to put the short title. In order to come up with a short title, you have to first have the full title. The full title is between 7 and 10 words, give or take a few words. But around 7 to 10 average length of the full title. And you're going to identify what the study is about and possibly the variables included in the study. Well, this study is about the variables related to COVID health-related behaviors. So if I wanted to write a simple title, and obviously you're going to write your own title, I can write behavioral correlates of mask wearing and social distancing. And that kind of sums up the study because we're really looking at, mask wearing, social distancing. These are some of the important variables related to our people following COVID-related protocol or rules. So behavioral correlates of mask wearing and social distancing. That could be an appropriate title. Now, I don't expect you to write that. That's my title. I just made that up on the spot. You could make up your own title. It doesn't have to be fancy. It has to be between 7 and 10, 7 to 12, right in that vicinity, number of words that describes what the study's about. And that has to be centered. And I'm going to change the font here to Arial. And just make sure I don't know why it's defaulting to Calibri, but Calibri is, I don't know, I don't really like it too much. So I'm just going to change to Arial. And I want 12 point font. So make sure you got 12-point font. So I'm changing to Arial 12. Okay. So once I have the full title, I can then write the short title. The short title is the first few words of the full title. So if I'm happy with this as my full title, which I am, I'm going to put the first few words. Now that's up to you how many words. I would say at least 10 characters though. So I'm going to write behavioral, and this is going to be all caps. So the short title is in all caps. Always. Make sure you spell it right. So I'm going to leave it as behavioral correlates as my short title. So the first 2 or 3 words of the full title should be your short title, but make sure you put the short title in all caps next to the running head. Now, on the title page, you're going to have the words running head. On every subsequent page, you're not going to have the words running head, but you're going to have the short title. So that title page is going to be a little different than the subsequent pages of your paper. And I'm going to have the page number in the upper right. Like that. 1. Title page. Now on page 2, I'm not going to have the words running head. I'm going to remove them. I'm just going to have the short title in all caps, behavioral correlates. And every subsequent page, short title. Let's go back to this full title. I want this in kind of in the middle of the page, so I'm going to bring it down a couple of spaces here. And after the full title, this is going to be centered. I'm going to have my name and my institutional affiliation. Spelled Manhattan wrong, obviously. Make sure you don't have spelling errors. I'm not going to write BMCC. I'm going to write Borough of Manhattan Community College. BMCC is an abbreviation. It shouldn't be on this title page of the manuscript. If you want to write University of New York, you're going to write that below this. That's optional. You can write that. You don't have to write that. And that's my title page. I have the words running head. I have colon. I have the short title in all caps, which is the first few words of my full title. I have a page number in the upper right. I have the full title about midway down the page, maybe a little bit above the midway line. I have my name. I don't have to write my degree. I can write my degree, but I'm choosing not to here. The institutional affiliation and City of University of New York. I do not have the date. I do not have the professor's name, so you're not going to put my name on your title page. It's your name, your institutional affiliation. No dates, no Professor DePaulo, none of that. Okay? Because you're writing it as if you're submitting it to be published. That's your title page. On the subsequent pages, the words running head need to be removed, and you can edit that out through Microsoft Word or through some other alternative Google Docs, where you can actually change the title page to be slightly different than every subsequent page. So you're going to have a different title page with the words running head. On the subsequent pages, you're just going to have behavioral correlates on the left and then the page number on the right in the header. And then you're done. Now, if you're going to write the abstract, that'll be on page 2. So let's go to page 2. Obviously, I'm going to change the title page to be different, so I don't want running head here. I can remove that afterwards. You're going to remove that. But on page 2, you're going to write the word abstract. Center it like that. And now you're going to write about 120 to 150 words for your abstract. The abstract is the first thing that any researcher reads when they're deciding, do I want to read the whole paper? So I'm doing research. I need to find my literature review, like I said at the start. You have to find articles that are, that have been previously done, that talk about the hypothesis or the subject matter you're discussing. You did that in the introduction. You got to find those articles. The first thing you do as a researcher when you're finding these articles is you're reading the abstract of the paper. That's the first thing you're doing. Now, how do you write the abstract? You write the abstract after the rest of the paper has been completed. So let's go look at what we're doing here with the abstract. So the abstract, I know I have between 150 and 200 words. Every paper, every journal, I should say, is different. So if a journal says the abstract can be no longer than 150 words, make sure your abstract is not longer than 150 words. Because guess what will happen? The editors will say, well, the author was given these instructions, they chose not to follow these instructions, I don't think I want to accept this paper, so I'm going to reject the paper. And yes, if your editor is really petty, I guess. I don't know if I want to use the word petty, but very, very strict. If you go over the abstract allocation in terms of words, they can reject the paper outright. I've had papers rejected for a variety of reasons. I've had editors of the paper, editors of the journal reject my papers. I've also had the editor-in-chief reject my paper after the other editors agreed to publish it. So you never know what someone's thinking, and you don't want to give them a reason to reject your paper. So please follow the directions. Just like I'm giving you directions to follow, this would be the same thing if you're submitting a paper for publication. You must follow the journal's directions. And every journal is different. There's a lot of online journals, they require, a certain format, and the in-print journals are a little bit more strict with the length of the article because they have limited space. And it costs money to go over, to add more space. So for this assignment, between 150 and 200 words is what I'm looking for. You're going to talk in the first 2 to 3 sentences about the main objective of the research study. So that involves things that you wrote in the introduction. You don't have to list all the hypotheses, but talk about what you're studying and what is the main objective of the study, why you're studying it. And then 1 to 2 sentences on the methodology, so how was the study done? And then 1 to 2 sentences on defining results. Do not use formal statistics in the abstract. I know that some journals you will see formal statistics in the abstract, but not the majority. And I really don't like to have formal statistics in the abstract. So make sure you talk about the significant or the important findings that you've been writing about. There was one hypothesis that was supported. Make sure you mention that hypothesis that was supported in the abstract here. You don't need to give the statistics, but just mention what happened, what was supported. So go back to the results section and look at your results. Report the significant findings. If it's not significant, you don't have to talk about it in the abstract. Right? You don't have to list all the hypotheses and say this hypothesis. No, you want 1 to 2 sentences focusing on the significant results of the study without using formal statistics in the abstract. And then finally, 1 to 2 sentences, the conclusion of the study. So you see 2 to 3 for the introduction part, 1 to 2 for the method, 1 to 2 for the results, 1 to 2 for the discussion/conclusion. That will give you 150 words. So I've provided you an example. Here's an abstract on the effect of job stress on clinical health outcomes. So approximately 15 to 25% of the U.S. working population is classified as high risk for job stress. So that's what the study's about. It's about job stress. And it's about that there's a lot of job stress in the U.S. This type of stress is known to exert a psychological toll on workers. That's why they're studying it. However, less is known about the impact of job stress on physical health and how current findings translate to clinically relevant outcomes in everyday life, such as susceptibility to the common cold. So now we're getting more focus on what the study's about. So far, these 3 sentences talk about what the topic of study is, job stress, and the effects of job stress on the working population, more specifically physical health. So this tells the reader exactly what the article is about. They're doing a study, it's on job stress, and they're looking at how does job stress specifically affect physical health and susceptibility to the common cold. Now the method part. In an ongoing daily diary study, 68 adults, 37 female, completed measures of job stress and upper respiratory infection symptoms every day for 8 weeks. So this is the methodology. They did a diary. They kept measures of job stress and their symptoms. So they were given some kind of survey measures of job stress, and then they kept their symptoms, their physical symptoms, and symptoms of the upper respiratory infection, which is the common cold, every day for 8 weeks. That's the method. Now let's focus on the results here. Preliminary analyses show that males who had busier days at work on average also endorsed a greater number of upper respiratory symptoms. So in men who are working a lot, they're getting more sick. Additionally, males who reported lower perceived job security and less supervisor support were sick with upper respiratory infections on more days across the study than those with greater job security and supervisor support. Well, obviously that makes sense because they're under more stress and they have very little support at work. And I don't know what kind of jobs you've had. I've had jobs where my supervisor was helpful to me, and I've had jobs where my supervisor said, good luck, do all these things, good luck, and that's it. Go figure it out. And if you had a problem, you had to figure it out on your own because the supervisor was too busy. That's really stressful. You don't know what you're doing. You can't contact anybody. You can't ask questions. You just have to do it. Figure it out on your own. And that's intense stress. And yes, over time, that intense stress can lead to a breakdown of the immune system. Remember, psychoneuroimmunology is a field that looks at the effect of stress and other factors, psychological factors on the immune system. Among females, endorsing more busy days was associated with greater endorsement of URI symptoms. So this is for both men and women. Among women, endorsing more busy days meant more cold symptoms. So these 3 sentences summarize the results. In our current study, you don't need 3 sentences because only one hypothesis was supported. So mention that here. You could do that in 1 to 2 sentences. You don't need, this is a little bit more complicated results-wise because they had multiple things that worked out for them. We didn't. The findings expand our understanding of links between job stress and immune functioning by elucidating effects on a clinically relevant health outcome. So this is just the conclusion sentence. You should write 1 to 2 sentences conclusion about the study that we wrote as a class. And that's the abstract. It's not that easy to write. It's going to require a little bit of work to condense the entire study into this one paragraph, 150 words or so. So this is always written at the end, and it can be tricky condensing everything into this one paragraph. But it's very important because this is what the reader is going to read. I'm going to skim through this abstract, and based on the abstract, I determine, do I want to read this article? Do I want to cite from this article? And as a researcher, you want other people to cite your research, because that means your research is having an impact. If other people cite your research, you're doing a good job. You're having an effect on the field, a positive effect. You're having an impact. And in certain positions, certain professorial positions, whether other people cite your research is important in terms of getting tenure and promotion. So it really depends on where you work. But it's important that other people find your research helpful. You don't want to just do research that no one else cares about. So that's why writing the abstract is very important, because you want to basically sell to the reader that your research is important. You found some interesting things, and they should read your study and cite from your study. Cite some of the background research, the introduction stuff from your research that you've already published. Okay, so that's how you write the abstract. That's going to take a little bit of time to sort of get down exactly how you want it worded. Now for the references. The references are always at the end. So if your second page is abstract, you obviously have your introduction that follows. Then you have your method, then you have results, then you have your discussion. After your discussion, you're going to have a reference page. And you're going to call it references. Make sure R is capitalized. That's going to be centered. And then you're going to list all the articles that you used throughout the manuscript. So whenever you cited something, it has to be put in the reference section. And it has to be done in APA format. So what is APA format for references? Well, I've given you the rundown of APA format. If it's a book with one author, you're going to cite it like this. This is Charles Dickens' Great Expectations. Obviously, you're not going to cite Great Expectations for a psychology paper, but it would look like this. Dickens C, year of publication. So last name, first initial, year in parentheses, period, the title in italics of the book, period, and the place of publication and the publication company. If you have two or more authors in a book, you're going to cite it like this. Here are your authors, the date of the publication, the title of the book in italics, and then obviously the place of publication, the publication company, and that's it. But we're not using books for this, so we're going to go down to articles. Journal articles in print or journal articles online. If it's in print, the author last name, right? First initial, middle initial, if they provide middle initials. Some people do, some people don't. Right, so Gledish NP, Pinker S. So here's the first initial, here's the middle initial. Here is Pinker, first initial. This is Stephen Pinker, who's very well known. So you have multiple authors here. The Decline of War, International Studies Review. And here is the article, basically the journal number right here, or volume number of the journal. This is volume 15. Before that, you have the actual journal title, which is International Studies Review. You see that's in parentheses. So the journal title's in parentheses, not the title of the article. The title of the article is The Form, The Decline of War. That's the title of the article. That's not in parentheses. The article, the journal name is in parentheses. After the journal name, in parentheses, comma, the volume number of the journal. In parentheses, if there's an issue number, you put the issue number in parentheses here, comma, the page numbers, and then the period. You also see how the references are indented. So you should always have the second and subsequent lines indented for each reference entry. And you want to put the reference entries in alphabetical order by author last name. So this can be annoying to actually write out all these reference entries. There are a variety of shortcuts involved. There are citation managers or citation machines that can print out citations in APA format. But probably the easier way to do it, if you don't have too many references, which you shouldn't, you should have at least 5 sources, so you're going to have at least 5 citations, but it's not like you have 150, 200 citations. You don't, or sources. So you can do this little trick that I'm going to show you, and that's to go to Google Scholar. So let's go to Google Scholar. This is where you probably found some of your articles. And in Google Scholar, you're going to find your article, right? So let's say I'm looking at empathy and mask wearing for COVID. And you may or may not be finding articles like this. The emotional path to action, empathy promotes physical distancing and wearing a face mask during the pandemic. That sounds very relevant. Something that you could have used in your introduction. So if you use this article, maybe you did, maybe you didn't, but if you use this article, you're going to go to this thing that says cite. Right? See this little quotation mark here? You're going to click on cite, and you're going to find APA style. There's your citation for this article in APA format. You don't want the other format, you want APA format. You can just copy and then just format it. So copy it here, put it into your reference page. Now remember, the second and subsequent lines have to be indented. So I can just cut, make sure I indent here, and then paste. And you may want it to double space this, because it's easier on me if you double space it. And there's your citation. So all I did was I copied it, and then I pasted it, and I just formatted it correctly by indenting the second and subsequent lines. Now make sure you put these entries in alphabetical order by author last name. So this author starts with PF. You got to make sure you put it in alphabetical order by this first author's last name. As you can see here, this is in italics. This is the name of the journal, Psychological Science. This is the volume number, in parentheses the issue number. Here's the page number, and you're done. This is in 10-point font. If you want to make this 12-point font, you just put it as 12-point font. So that screws up the format a bit. Not a big deal. We can still fix it. Just the formatting is a little bit off. Make sure you fix the formatting. Don't just hand me like crazy formatting. Make sure it's double spaced. And make sure that this second and subsequent line is indented. So I'm going to do that now. Again, because I fixed it. Whoops. So this just requires you to move it around a bit. And double space. And there you go. Double spaced. Second and subsequent lines are all indented. Journal name is in italics, as you see here. The volume number and the issue number are here. The page numbers are here. The authors are here. The date of publication is here. You're all done. So you can easily go to Google Scholar, type in the name of the article, go to citation here, right? If you want a citation manager, there's a bunch of citation managers. But the big citation managers are useful if you have a lot of citations. So if you're writing a full manuscript article and you're going to have, let's say, 100 different sources or 75 different sources for your article, you might want a citation manager, because then you can have the citation manager make the citations for you, but they can also store the articles online for you. So you can just click on the citation in the citation manager, and it shows you the article and it shows you the citation. So citation managers, there's some free ones out there. They're useful if you want to store a lot of information, but for a paper like this where you're having less than 10 sources, you can just go into Google Scholar and get the APA formatted source citations and then format them. I think that's the easiest way to do it. So you're going to have the title page, as I talked about. You're going to have the abstract, which is the harder part of this assignment. And then you're going to have the references, which are mostly done for you if you use Google Scholar. You just have to format them. And that's what you're going to submit as a PDF onto Blackboard, onto the link provided under the Assignments tab, which is right here. Title Abstract References. You're going to submit it as a PDF. I know there's a few students are having trouble submitting as a PDF. I'm not quite certain what's going on. Most people are submitting fine. If you can't upload it, you can always email it to me. I'm not quite sure. Everybody's different. Why they're having trouble submitting things. It might be a Blackboard issue. And the college is moving away from Blackboard. They're going to be using a different content provider for online stuff in the future. So the contract with Blackboard is up, and we're going to be doing a transition. I don't know if it's going to be better or worse, the same. All of these online platforms have positives and negatives. There's no perfect one out there. Blackboard's convenient. It's not that hard to use, but there are issues with it. There are issues with basically everything when it comes to technology. Nothing is perfect. But we're going to migrate away from Blackboard to a new system soon. And that's about it for the assignment. Now, after you submit the title abstract references, I will give you feedback. I will grade it. The grade is out of 10. I know there was a little glitch where it showed out of 100. I must have tacked on an extra 0. The grade for the rough drafts are always out of 10. 10 is the max score. And then the grade for the revised paper will be out of 100. So the final paper grade will be the revised paper out of 100, and then the average of the rough draft scale to 100, and I'll average those two, and that will be your final paper grade. So the final paper grade is an average of the rough drafts and the revision. So I'm looking to see, are you doing the rough drafts? Are you trying? And then are you making them better? So please incorporate the feedback I've been giving you on the rough drafts to make them better when you submit the final paper. You'll be submitting the final paper in the following week, and you have to submit the final paper, the revised paper, based on my suggestions and my remarks, and then put the whole paper in order as a PDF. So the final paper should be submitted as title page, abstract, introduction, method, the results, which I've already given you here. I've posted the results. All you have to do is copy and paste this into your final paper, right? The discussion, and then the reference page. You're going to put it in that order for your final paper, save it as a PDF, and submit that final paper, in the following week after you get the feedback for the title, abstract, and references. That's the last assignment for the course, the final paper, revised, and then obviously the final exam. So that's pretty much it for this week, the title, the abstract, and the references. Hopefully that helps you. If you have any questions or you need to meet with me, please send me an email and I will set something up with you. So we're coming down the line towards the end of the semester, and a lot is due really quickly. So please keep up with the work. If you have questions, let me know. If you need to talk, let me know on Zoom. I will set something up. And please work hard. A few more weeks left, and let's get it done. If you have questions, let me know. If not, I'll see you online. Good luck, and we'll talk down the road. Bye for now.